Hello and welcome to TVC News Politics on Sunday. I am Femi Akande. President Bola Tinubu is in Guinea-Bissau for the 63rd Ordinary Session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. This is the president's first outing on ECOWAS platform since he assumed office as president on the 29th of May. Nigeria contributes significantly to security and sustainable development of the region and is a major power bloc in promoting regional cooperation, democracy, and good governance. President Bola Tinubu also seems to be already enjoying tremendous support from regional heads of state and government. He has always been against all trade barriers and obstacles to business growth and economic development. But on this trip, he's accompanied by the National Security Advisor and the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Defense. These two men will join him at the session where security challenges faced by member countries will be discussed. The acting governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance are also on this trip. They will participate in the ECOWAS summit that will talk about the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Well, another prominent group on the president's entourage to the ECOWAS summit are politicians. Former Governor of Kebbi State, Senator Atiku Bagudu, former Jigawa State Governor Abubakar Badaru, and former Kano Governor Abdullahi Ganduje and Senator Abu Ibrahim from Katsina State are also on this trip. These may be raising some posers like, will these men be part of the federal cabinet when it is eventually formed? Or could it be that they have been invited by the presidency because the issues that will be discussed at the 63rd Ordinary Session of ECOWAS will be relevant to the portfolios they will be assigned to handle in President Tinubu's government? Or could it just be for political expediency? The regional government is looking up to President Bola Tinubu to play the lead role in the center stage of West Africa's cooperation to achieve economic growth, security, and sustainable development.
And everybody is looking up to Nigeria taking over the mantle of leadership of the ECOWAS community, the organization. And that's another pointer to the fact that every one of them recognizes the fact that Nigeria should assume the leadership role. Even when we went to Paris the other day, about 2 weeks ago or 3, most presidents, so many heads of states were falling over themselves to meet with the Nigerian president, with President Tinubu. And every one of them that he could accommodate did say emphatically that they were happy that Nigeria is now back in the global affairs. Nigeria is now back on the world stage or the global stage and is really proving its mettle simply because of the progressive policies of this current president in the last 1 month. So this has come to be emphasized here in Guinea-Bissau. Guinea-Bissau is a very small country. It has resources, oil and gas, and it has the largest mangrove forest area in the world. Over 10% of the entire land area is mangrove forest. And that signposts a lot of things that will be there. So apart from these economic indices and resources, there is also internal instability. There was an attempted coup some time back, which necessitated Nigeria and West Africa, the ECOWAS community, to send stabilization force here. And that's why Nigeria is taking a leading role in that stabilization effort. And we have seen that the Guinea-Bissau president visited President Tinubu in Lagos during the Salah period. We were all there, and he was full of encomiums for our president and wanted, and I mean, he said this to my own hearing, that he would want our president to assume the leadership role in West Africa. So it is, from all indications, a very worthwhile trip for our president.
While President Bola Tinubu is at ECOWAS in Guinea-Bissau, here on the home front, there are speculations about a brewing crisis in the All Progressives Congress. This became clearer when the National Assembly appointed its principal officers. The national chairman of the APC, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, says he is not happy with that decision of the Senate president and the way he snubbed the party in the process of determining who gets what in the principal offices. Well, the question is, did this pitch the party against the Senate, or has the matter been set aside? Also, what is the fate of the chairman of the APC? I sat down with him in an exclusive interview. How does it feel to be the man in charge and the one that helped deliver the goods for your party?
Thank you very much. But I am humbled,
extremely
humbled with the level of acceptance or acceptability of our party, by the people of this great country. They've shown the APC is their party. They stood with us firmly. This last election was probably the election that was held in the strictest and hardest period I imagine, or I do know, or I can recall.
Surprisingly, the principal officers that was announced by the leader, the Senate president, and indeed the speaker, it appears as if the party was not carried along, or you as the national chairman was not carried along, because you categorically said that your party has not communicated to the National Assembly with regards who these nominees are.
I did say so, and I meant so. But this is a family matter, and there's a limit to which you can take it. After consultation with what happened, we are agreeable as leaders of this party to accept what transacted in the two chambers of the National Assembly. And the principal officers so nominated stand full-fledged principal officers of the respective chambers that they were voted into.
Okay, so you have come to accept them as...
Yeah, so.
But we're yet to see a congratulatory message from the party.
Well, you don't give me time when I congratulate anybody. I have congratulated those that I had to. Since this matter came up, we got out of it sometimes around Thursday. And I must accommodate the emotions and sentiments of other leaders of the party. And I don't just rush to say, okay, this is it. I've already given a statement, public statement. Some print media have covered the pronouncements I made in respect of the issue of the principal officers. And I thought for that time, that will suffice, that will do. The coverage of my pronouncement was wide, and I believe that I think whoever was standing against it or was wanting to have a further confrontation has sheathed their sword. And I think that's the end of the story.
It also brought up a lot of issues when some members of the National Working Committee were credited to have said that, they are not in support of your statement saying that the party has not communicated who these principal officers of the National Assembly will be. So it shows, it depicts a crack within the NWC. It seems you're not working,
I appreciate
you're not on the same page.
I appreciate that sometimes you make better gains when there's conflict. Members of the Fourth Estate, I appreciate that. But the fact of the matter is, today, we are opportune to lead the party. And what we have done, we believe, is in the best interest of the party. And I was amazed when I read that in one of the print media that some people, they didn't mention them. So you see, that is not a complete story. It's just speculative. And as a national chairman of a ruling party, I don't respond to speculations. I don't.
So what was the role of the president in settling all of these? Did you speak with the president
The president
is
the leader of our great party, APC. And I had discussions with him. And what discussion I had with the president is one for me to start giving details of what I discussed or didn't discuss with the president. But I went to the president, I discussed with him, and we parted ways, shaking hands, accepting the position that we jointly agreed.
And some of also what you say fabrications of fifth columnists One of it is also that there's a crack in your relationship with the president. Will you confirm that or deny that?
This is people who trade in negativities, pessimisms. But I don't have any authority over them. I cannot ask them to do or not to do. They are individuals, they are Nigerians like me, they enjoy their right to express themselves the way they deem fit. But we need to be a little more careful when we deal with issues at the level in which we are discussing, which is the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I read one of the guys who was saying something like, that's a Cold War, the Cold War. Which Cold War? You see, they feed on negativities, unfortunately. I have no problem with the president. And I'm a front runner. I led this party with God's guidance. We won the election. Everywhere I went with president during the campaigns. We never had any issues between me and him throughout the campaign. And since the inauguration, nothing has happened for anybody to impugn the fact that there is a Cold War going on. Whatever Cold War means to them, it doesn't exist here. You see, what is happening is the party is enjoying a good ride now. The party has been able to win an election. And as you do know, this is, the work period is virtually going. And it is now time, for governance. And people don't see governance as a challenge. Quite a number of these guys who are talking so loosely, are doing so probably because they want to gain some favors. It's time for nominating people for political offices. Ministers are there in the waiting. Members of the boards of corporations that were dissolved are there in the waiting. And you shouldn't be surprised that there are guys who want to pick it cheap. But I'm the wrong guy for anybody to try to pick on the papers and radio and television. I come a long way, if you permit that immodesty. I've come a long way, and I think my skin has developed thick enough to tolerate those kind of hiccups.
Okay. Well, let's talk about governance. When the president was inaugurated on the 29th of May, he made that declaration that subsidy is gone because payments of the petrol subsidy will no longer be implemented by his administration. And a lot of Nigerians were not expecting this. This sent shockwaves around the country. Prices went high. The hardship became quite unbearable. Nigerians did not bargain for this.
Well, I praise the president's ability to pilot his way during that speech that you are referring to during the inaugural. The fact of the matter was the budget which this administration, his administration, has inherited from the previous administration, has no provision whatsoever for subsidy payments. All right? But by implication, subsidy has been removed. And that's the extra. He just had to say for people to know that yes, it's been reduced. I mean, it's been dropped completely. He was very careful with his words, but he was very firm. And yes, we've had reactions. It's still on. I wouldn't say it's completely over, but I'm extremely delighted, with the way that he is going about confronting the issues before this administration. And there is no doubt in the fact that commentators, both within and outside the Federal Republic of Nigeria, are commending the president for hitting the road running and addressing the issues of the moment.
But some people had expected that maybe provisions would have been put in place for palliatives or some kind of interventions to cushion the impact of this.
I agree totally that yes, there has been or there should be provision for for palliatives, for people to have some little relief from the hardship that the removal of subsidy was bound to bring. Again, you don't speak for a coming government. Those of us who are close enough to the government, the ruling party particularly, and the students of current affairs will appreciate the fact that a government is just coming in. You know, you don't begin to speculate, you don't begin to tell them what they should do. You don't. Because if you line up 1,000 presidents, given the same condition, each of them would have a different approach. But the fact remains that for the ordinary Nigerian, there's need for this policy that will cushion the hardship that the removal of subsidy was bound to bring. And as you can see, experts are still putting their heads together and to seeing how best, you know, will confront the issue of bringing some circle to the public.
Okay, and there has been so much talk and assessment of the president's early days in office, especially with the policies of, yes, the subsidy removal, the monetary policy issue, the student loan, and some engagements he has had and some commitments he has made to Nigerians. And as the chairman of the party, would you say this has significantly improved the approval rating of President Tinubu's administration?
I think there's no doubt about that. Anybody who knows what government is all about, anybody who cares what his government or her government is doing, would appreciate the fact that this is a man that immediately on the podium of his inauguration made statements about the kind of subsidy you're talking about and the rest of them. To date, critical issues that need be addressed are being addressed by him. And that's why I said a while ago that public opinion promoters, both at home and abroad, are on the same page as to the fact of how well the president hit the road running, addressing very key issues. And obviously, that is rubbing positively in the followership of the government and acceptability of the government. And that's good for us.
But there are still some people that are not convinced. They believe that, well, the APC did not win that election, and that is without prejudice to the case ongoing in court at the tribunal. They believe that the APC did not really win that election, and they are waiting for the courts to decide.
That's one very unfortunate thing that I have to live with. The unfortunate thing that there is a characteristic that would appear to be identified with Nigerians and Nigerian politicians. It's unfortunate that people don't know when to say yes. People don't know when to say it is, they are honor bound to accept situations. It's unfortunate that it has become a culture, unfortunately, a culture, that no matter how it goes, people go to court to challenge the result, as long as they're not the winners. The only exception we saw recently was the election of 2015, when President Jonathan, who was then the incumbent, was defeated by our party, by President Muhammadu Buhari. He, in fact, he didn't wait. He announced his acceptance of the result before the result was announced. And that was nothing. But somehow, from the local government election to House of Assembly election to House of Rep election to the Senate election and presidency, it's such a shame that every time we go to the poll, we must end up in court. I see people cooking issues, trying to develop some concepts of law as if Nigeria starts with this election.
This is peculiar with politicians, irrespective of political parties.
I said so. It appears to be becoming a characteristic of our people. I mentioned so early in response to that question. I'm not happy about it. I don't like it. Take it. If you can trace me back from my days as a student to the day I became chairman of the APC. I've contested elections. I'm lucky I've won the elections here, right through.
All elections.
I've never lost my election. But I've never come to any time to take me to court. Never go to court.
If
you take me to court,
because you've never tested defeat at the poll.
Yes, the fact of that, if you don't have the right state of mind, then you become a victim of this inability to accept the reality of your situation. All right? This contesting election is not a do or die affair, for heaven's sake. Just like you feel you are qualified, you are competent, your opponents feel the same way. Maybe they are better qualified than even you. The fact that they beat you is just an added reason for you to accept your destiny, to accept that, yes, this is what the people have decided.
Let's talk about the transition. You know, it was a very critical time in Nigeria's national life. A lot of people had even envisaged that that transition will not happen. It will not be smooth. And there were a lot of issues at that time, but eventually, yes, we had that smooth transition. How significant is this to Nigeria's growth and democratic development?
I think it's an opener for people who are willing to make better appraisals of situations that the country faces at every election. We have some sworn, what I may call soothsayers, doomsayers. There's nothing they see except bad things in their country. They don't want to do anything or say anything that will promote the unity of the country, to stabilize the politics of the country, to stabilize the policies that are there for stabilize the economy. They don't say anything good in doing that. As long as they want their name each time to be written negatively, this is what they say about the government. But as far as they're concerned, they have been positive. Now, every country has a share of this kind of people, but it's unfortunate. We have so many of them. We have so many people who don't wish their country well. People thought our party will implode. They tried to promote that idea. But here we are. We won the election. And the government is going, and people are not saying, well done. President Tinubu, you are doing well, you're taking on very well, you hit the road running. All right? But notwithstanding what we are seeing practically, there are some here and there that don't say anything good in what Tinubu is doing. And that's very, very bad. That's very, very unpatriotic as far as I'm concerned.
Maybe why some people have this mindset is because over time, governments, not this government now, previous governments, have not particularly kept their own end of the bargain, kept their social contract with the citizens.
Where government does right, say so. Commend it. If it does it wrong, say so. Condemn the wrong. That's where I am. But what I don't like is a situation in which a person is identified perpetually as saying just bad things about his government, about his country. You don't see this at all. The countries they run to, often when they have problems, they create problems at home, they run to. Those people went through this kind of experience in their own way, in their own time. They compare what we are today with what those countries are. Some of these countries are writing their history, democracy, 500 years of democracy, 200 and something years of independence and the rest of it. They are just writing some 50, 60 years, all right? And the level of civilization, which is an important thing, is still low, fairly low for our population, all right? And but people expect us to do things the way Americans do it. They want us to do things the way the Germans or French or English would do it. We are just not there in terms of preparedness as a nation, taking us together as a unit. And we must have the patience to transit from where we are to what we are hoping for. I'm not saying we should necessarily wait for those number of years to begin before we begin to adopt things we should do that are extremely primary. I don't criticize people for criticizing government, no. But when it becomes an inbuilt sense of pessimism against it, and I talk against it, right, whether I'm in government or not in government. Right, this is not our principle as far as I'm concerned.
People are expecting to hear or see the president send the ministerial list to the National Assembly for screening and confirmation. People are still waiting. People are anxious. And is this not taking too long?
Please let us be a bit reasonable. The inauguration was just less than 40 days ago. Less than 40 days ago. All right. Even with the amendments to the law, making provision that the president must submit his list within 60 days of inauguration. Why not there? Why not there? So what's the impatience? We've experienced in this country, people going much longer than this before the cabinet was known. The president is doing consultation as much as possible. You can say that yes, before he became president, he should know what he wants to do, he should know what kind of president. That's cheap. That's very cheap shot. What is realistic, what is on the ground is the president, given what he went through, what we went through during the election, given the state of the nation today, given his manifesto of to the country for the election, for the manifesto we had for the election, are putting all of them together, all this together. There are certain factors that may change between the time he wished to be president, the time the election took place, and the time that we are now considering the issue of who is in cabinet, who is not in cabinet. So it's not a matter of him just rushing. So yeah, I want A, I want B, I want C. And the next, you see Nigerians again out there. No, this is not the case. Yeah, that kind of stuff. So he's taking his time, and he's still within the provision of the law.
What's the input of the party, the APC, in all of these consultations and how the federal cabinet will be formed? Because it's an APC administration.
It's an APC, but once a president is elected on our platform, he belongs to all Nigeria. Don't forget that. He belongs to all Nigeria, and it's not just the APC alone that he would think of satisfying in appointing his ministers.
But APC would have a significant input.
As for consultation, he don't want to tell you on this program how the consultation is going on between me or the party and the president in selecting his ministers. But he's consulting. And if those who understand the meaning of consulting know that he's talking to more than one person or two or three or four to arrive at the list of ministers that he will propose into the National Assembly.
Well, that's our package on the program this week. Do remember you can see this episode again on TVC News YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching. I am Femi Akande. See you next time.